What's up, family? This is Kenan bringing you another episode of Black Gay Table Talk. Today we have New York Times bestselling author, American novelist, playwright, producer, and inspiration to us all, I'm sure. And I'm going to take my little moment, huge inspiration to me. We have Mr. James Earl Hardy. James, how are you?
I'm really good. How you doing today?
I'm good too. I'm excited to have you.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. This is a long time coming for me, I will admit. I'm thankful for you, and I'll say that right now. I'm thankful for you, okay?
Thank you.
Yes. So, if you don't mind, share with our viewers, the very few, the one or two people that probably don't know who you are, if you will, share a bit of your background and your journey.
Okay. I was born and raised in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, also known as Spike Lee Land. um, I started my writing journey as a journalist. Excuse me. Um, Freelancing for publications like the Amsterdam News and Essence and the New York Times, New York Daily News, and then became an editor at Scholastic Inc. Um, and then went to the journalism school at Columbia, where I graduated with honors, and was actually at Newsweek in the arts department in the summer of '93 when the B-boy blues epiphany hit me. So I was charged with reading books that the staff editor wasn't familiar with, and if anything came across that was interesting, maybe they would allow me to do a capsule review or maybe even interview the author. And I became, well, very depressed because I wasn't seeing anything that reflected me.
Mm,
And
got it.
so that fall going into winter, um, I wrote B-Boy Blues, which has been praised. Thank you, Elin Harris, uh, as the first gay hip hop love story, and in which a not a coincidence, a black gay journalist in New York City falls in love with a homeboy bike messenger from Harlem.
Mhm.
And after B-Boy, I thought, well, okay, this is cute. I wrote a novel. Um, some people seem to like it. It's doing rather well, sales wise. I'm going back to my journalism career, but Pookie a little bit had other ideas.
They did. They did.
And here we are, almost 30 years later. And there are now 8 installments um, in the B-Boy Blue series. And plus my short story collection. Can you feel what I'm saying? So
Yes, yes. Like when you would get into the zone and start writing, where would you be?
I would be home,
Home.
but I was working at Newsweek at the time, so uh, I was usually writing between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m.
Got it.
Um,
So,
uh, a habit that I haven't kicked yet because usually that's when I create. So
got it. So you're that night owl creator. You're up all
yes,
night. Do you have those moments where you just can't put it down until you finish this last scene in your head, or how does that work? How do you pull back from it once you've gotten started?
yeah, I think that once I get into a groove, I don't stop until I believe the music has stopped. So, um, and sometimes it's not so much. Well, is there a is there a beginning, a middle, or an end to what I'm
Right.
writing? Because I don't know. I don't think that most authors write that way. It's well, I know what's what's going to happen each stage of the way on this particular writing journey. So I can plot, so much time
Mm-hmm.
I'll write this chapter or that chapter. No, you just got to go with it.
You got to go with it. I
Yeah,
love that.
just let it do what it's
So,
gonna do.
right. And that's where the magic happens when you just let it
Hmm.
go, you know? So, what was one of your, and I'm sure, well, first off, let me say happy 11th anniversary to B-Boy Blues, the play,
Thank you.
right? Yes. So, at what moment, James, did you recognize that um, Pookie and Little Bit, or the B-Boy Blues series, had taken on a life of its own?
Um, well, I think it happened during the summer of '95 when
Mm-hmm.
it was clear that uh, this wasn't only going to be a one off. This wouldn't be the only novel I would write because Raheem was speaking to me. He was like, "Well, Mitchell got to tell his side of the story. I want to tell mine." um, and just the reaction of people to it, it nothing I had written before had produced that type of joy
Mm-hmm.
in people,
Mm-hmm.
and also a sense of freedom that we could
Yes.
actually walk into a bookstore and point to something that was a mirror image of who we were and the lives that we lived and how we loved. So,
And how we loved. Oh,
mhm,
yes. So, a small story, and I'll say this without getting emotional. So, I was I was young when I first read the book, right? I remember going into the library. I loved reading, and at this time, I was still trying to figure out, and I talked a bit about this, excuse me, on the show, marriage sessions with my husband, but I didn't go into full detail.
okay.
So I was in that time where I was trying to figure out who I was, what I liked, why do I feel different? Um, Mommy and daddy don't understand me, you know. But my safe space was reading. But this particular day, and I remember it like it was just yesterday, that's how impactful this was for me. But I remember walking around the library, like just, I'm gonna see what's out here. And I turned the corner, I made a left turn around the corner, and I saw B-Boy Blues on my right side. And it stood out because I saw the yellow, the green, and then I saw the the figure. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, what is this? And I remember I can say this now. I snuck it out of the library because I didn't think that I would be able to. I didn't think they would let me read it. So I had to do what I had to do. But I got it home and it was the secret thing. I just went to reading. And then when I found second time around, like for me, you writing and allowing yourself to share these stories with the world, it helped me to not only come to terms with who I was, what I was, but it gave me a familiarity that I needed, and it not only kept my attention, but it helped me figure out how I wanted to mold and establish relationships that I have out with not just someone that I'm romantically interested in, but also my circle, So um, I, that's why I say I'm grateful for you for your work, and this is kind of full circle for me. Like I'm over the moon, and I'm not gonna cry, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that gift. Thank you.
Yes. How have you? What are some, I guess, of your proud moments of being able to instill um, these stories and this representation, if you will, to the community?
Uh, was at a not so much a bookstore, but more like a a clothing um, spot in Baltimore,
Mhm.
um, and this this gentleman, um, and it was a small space too. I mean, no more than like maybe 30 or 40 people could fit inside, but it was packed.
Mhm.
And this one gentleman who stood out because he was very much the embodiment of who Raheem is. And
Mhm.
after I read and I opened the floor for questions or comments, he raised his hand and he thanked me for writing the novel because he found it when he was in prison.
Mm.
And he finally realized through Raheem that, well, I don't have to be afraid of or ashamed to be who I am, and more specifically, who I want to love.
Mm.
And that was a wow moment.
Mhm.
And I think not just for me, but for like everyone in that space. It's because naturally Mitchell tells the story in B Boy Blues, so it's kind of like we see Raheem at a at arm's length. We don't really know that much about him,
True.
um, but the fact that he was able to get that and receive that and embrace that, and the sequel hadn't come out yet, was really profound. It was.
I love it. So, actually, someone shared with us that they had a connection with you and one of your first book signings, I believe, not the first, if I'm not mistaken, but one of, that you had B-Boy Dolls.
Dolls, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so I got it wrong. B-Boy Dolls.
Oh yes, Dale Guy Madison.
Yes, Dale Guy Madison.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes,
what was that
it was
like?
his spot that happened.
That was his spot that you're talking about.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I love it. Yes. So
Yeah.
what was it like having the B-Boy Dolls?
Well, it was just really affirming to watch people embrace the novel in a way um, that inspired them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just pure inspiration right there.
Mhm.
I'm sure I have my b boy doll somewhere around here. um, but yeah, it told me once again that you really are doing something that is much bigger than yourself.
Mhm.
I do believe that I was just called to do it. I don't believe I'm the first person to want to write a story like B Boy Blues, and probably not the first person to write a story like B Boy Blues. But I was the first to
Mhm.
get that kind of story out there.
Mhm.
So, and it just made perfect sense that I would just follow it, given
Mhm.
how much it meant not just to us, the collective, but how much it meant to me.
Mhm.
So,
I love it. I love it. So of course you've had other hits, right? Well, I say hits, but yes, hits. Other
that's all my
Y-
children.
Yes, and essentially they are your babies, right?
Hmm.
I love it. So I don't know if this is fair to ask, but I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
Which which of your books, which of your novels was the funnest for you to write?
Um, Probably the most fun to write is Love the One You're With.
Love the one you're with?
Yes. It's well, book number five in the
Mm-hmm.
series because well, the topic is men and monogamy, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much melodrama happening in that novel.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm-hmm.
those unfamiliar, um, at this particular juncture in their relationship, Mitchell and Raheem have been together maybe like a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
um, going on two. And Raheem goes to LA to make his first movie, And Mitchell realizes, like many of us do, that when your significant other is away, all the cats want to come out to play. It's like almost every corner he turns, some brother's up in his face. It's like, well, where were you like 2 years ago when I was single? It's
Right.
um, but there's one particular gentleman who does catch, not only catches his eye, but catches him for a brief
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
Monty Sims, and
Mhm.
it was just a lot of fun, like navigating
Mhm.
that particular narrative because we don't really get to see that explored in
True.
gay fiction, um, and and of course the I think that for a lot of people the kicker was the telephone sex call between Mitchell and Raheem.
Uh-huh.
They were 3,000 miles away, but we can still get it on, so let's do it.
We can make it happen. Yes.
So yeah,
I
it was
love
just a
it.
lot of fun writing that one.
Really. Got it.
Mhm.
So I know, you kind of take on these characters, right, as you give them life. And in essence, you slide into those characters as you're writing, right? What, if you can think of maybe one or two, what characters have given you revelations? I know sometimes we can be in the zone and we can write, but going back afterwards, it's like, damn, what did I just, and you have that revelation. Have you had any of those with any characters?
Mm, I think the revelatory character has to be Raheem,
Really?
uh, because he, for the most part, is just a figure in the
Mm-hmm.
B Boy Blues. He's the lustful man of our dreams for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But then in second time around, the mask literally comes off, and just the manner in which that novel unfolds. It's you have your chapters where we actually go back to see those moments that shaped him, that
Mm-hmm.
made him the man he is today, as he's navigating this new terrain of actually being in love with another man, something he never thought he
He would do.
would happen to him. So, um, yeah, there was just so much. Just every single chapter was kind of like pow, something else new um,
Right.
about him that was just another piece of the puzzle. But we would have never known if I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
decided, well, okay, I'm just going to step out on faith and follow and see where this leads. So,
Mm. I was just having a conversation earlier today about stepping out on faith, and you never know, right? You never know what will happen. You have to just take that chance. And
yeah,
especially if it's something that you really committed yourself to and exposed yourself to or unlocked different parts of you to make happen, you deserve that chance to see what's going to happen on the other
right.
side? I love it. I love it. Um, so, and I'm asking this question early. So, James, what is one thing or two things, if you will? What's something that people don't know or realize about you, the individual?
Um, hmm. I I don't really know how to answer that question. And I think probably because I've really kept a low key profile over these past 30 years. I'm just not a I'm just not a public person in that way, which some people find surprising given what I've created.
But I
uh,
see you though. I can see you. You're a homebody and
we-
you like your space and you're very particular about who you allow to take you out of that space, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I value my peace and my peace of mind. So
Amen.
um, I don't know. I guess people probably won't be surprised about those types of revelations until I write my memoir.
Hmm.
So it's I've always kept the spotlight on Pookie and Little Bit. So
You have. You have.
yeah, I
You
mean
have.
they for me are the real stars. So
Got it. I'm sure you have plans of writing the memoir. Do you know at what point you'd be ready to open the doors to it?
um, well, if I do it, it'll happen in the next few years.
Got it.
It
So
will
it's
because
still
I'll
an
be
if.
because well yeah because I I guess I have to really be inspired to do it, like everything else I write. And I will be knocking on 60 in a couple of years. So
Got it.
we're actually walking through that door, rather. So, and yeah, I think that that's, I mean, 6 decades um, of joy and tears to chronicle.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd most definitely be up for the challenge. So,
I'm gonna start a petition. I want everybody to like tap in, reach out to James, reach out to his team. We want this memoir, okay?
okay.
So yes. Um, but looking back on the experience of B-Boy Blues becoming a film, what was that moment like for you? And I know sometimes as our arts or our creations, as they take on new levels of success, sometimes there's that worry of us not being able to hold on to the essence of what it was when it was created. Did you ever have any of those concerns? And what was the experience like?
Well, that was always a major concern of mine throughout the B-Boy Blues, the film journey. Too often, folks said they were excited about the story and the impact it was having.
Mhm.
But when it came right down to it, they really wanted to make B-Boy Blues white or B-Boy Blues light.
Mm.
You know, let's throw some Caucasians up in there, or let's make Mitchell a woman. So it's yeah, um, and too often it was like, well, we almost got at least to some sort of finish line in terms of uh, signing a contract, even having auditions,
Hmm.
but something happened every single time. And I just had to believe that, well, that just wasn't the right time. It's going to happen. And
Right.
yeah, it finally did. And all those, I mean, all the elements just came together so beautifully. And of course, the proof is on the screen. It's just gorgeous. It's beautiful.
It is. It is.
It's more than anything I could have imagined it to be. So I'm more than pleased with what Jesse created. I mean, he knocked it out of the park.
He did. He did. You two did. Um,
Thank you.
yes, when I first heard about it, I was so amped, like I could not wait. And then actually seeing it come together. Unfortunately, I've not been able to make it to a play, but
Okay.
I I've always in my mind wanted to see, see it play out on the screen. And when that happened, oh my gosh, I was happy, I was sad, I was like all these emotions just came about because it was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. And I was but above all, I was so happy that it happened. And then to be picked up in the way that it was and still hold true to that like there was no washing of it, if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
And
Mm.
I was so thankful for that. Eh, I always say representation matters. And I have a
Yeah.
son now, and he asks those questions. Well, Daddy, where are the families that look like us? Or, um, you know, where are the two dads, or whatever have you? He asks those questions now. He's 6. And that for me, being able to have him see, what he could see, I was so thankful. I'm like, oh my God, like we need more of this. And will,
Indeed.
will we see the sequel? Will we see more installments to B-Boy Blues, the
Well,
movie?
yes, that's the prize we have our eyes on. Well, one of them anyway.
One of them.
So
Okay. But anything confirmed yet?
no,
No. It will
no.
be soon. It
Oh
it
yeah.
has to be soon. We call it for
Mhm.
it to be. Okay. So, are there any other major projects or any other items that we should be looking out for coming from you?
Um, well, I do plan to hit the road um, later this year um, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of B-Boy
Mm-hmm.
Blues going into 2025. So, um, I mean, if folks are interested in hosting me, just holla. um,
Right.
it definitely is a grassroots um, kind of thing. So
hmm
um, I'll go where the folks want me to.
I got you. Well, we definitely want you. So, I'm sure it's going to be a good tour. A good tour.
Indeed. Hmm.
Of course, there have been the um, opportunities for the message to be lost in what you were giving us. How did you stand firm and not allow those washing moments to happen, so to speak?
Um, well, I guess the wonderful thing is that I control um, the rights to B-Boy Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when, well, I guess I should go back to just explain that a little bit because it's rare for an author to own the rights to their work,
Mm-hmm.
the publishing rights specifically, but also even the entertainment media rights.
True.
Um, Publishing companies are usually in the driver's seat and they decide if and when your work can be adapted to screen, stage, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
When I was negotiating my contract with Allison Publications, with Sasha Allison in February '94, I was being paid peanuts, of course, because Allison was a small gay and lesbian press based in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that didn't really, you know, bother me. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted a bigger percentage of the royalty. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think the standard is maybe like 8% for
Mm-hmm.
authors.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Mine was doubled. Plus, I wanted to own the entertainment media rights,
Come on now.
and he didn't. I mean, I mean, hindsight is 2020, of course, but I mean, we had no idea that it would grow into what it has. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, of course, he said, "Okay, no problem, you got him."
Wow. But
And
thank
so
God
that
you had
when
the
the
mind.
well, and then when the 21st century dawned, Allison Publications kind of disbanded. So the actual publishing rights to the first four titles, B-Boy Blues, Second Time Around, If Only for One Night, and The Day Eazy-E Died, came back to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been in that driver's seat when it comes to whether or not something can happen with the B-Boy Blues series. And it's
Yes.
not something that I take for granted. I know that it's not something that most authors have. Um, and so I'm really protective. I'm just not
Mhm.
going to sign away anything. And in fact, it took a few years for the first few audiobooks
Mhm.
to see the light of day because I needed certain things in writing.
Mhm.
And if I'm not
Mhm.
going to get those things, I'm moving on. So,
Oh, I love that. And I love that you said that. There are so many authors who are afraid to stand firm, and miss that opportunity, but in some cases that opportunity will be it could be something bigger. I mean, keeping in that arena, are there any um I guess words of wisdom that you'd like to give up and coming authors?
first of all, write. Right.
Right.
Um, and even still to this day, I'll be approached by folks who say, "Well, I want to do what you want to do, what you do," and I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, have you written anything?" And they say, "No." As now, my response is always, "Well, what are you waiting for?"
Right. Right.
If there's a story that you want to tell, or they'll also say, "Well, I want you to tell this story," or "I want you to tell my story." Well, why can't you tell it?
Mm.
What's stopping you
All
from
right.
telling it? So, um, that's usually the first thing. Um, but also, and I'm reminded of probably one of my favorite quotes um, from Audre Lorde. Um, are you willing to use the power you have in the service of what you say you believe?
Mm.
If it's something that you believe in, what's stopping you? What makes you think
Mhm.
you don't have the power to
Mm.
make it happen? So, and
Wow.
that was me in the summer of '93. It's like, well, I've never written fiction before. Well, what do I know about that? I mean, I wouldn't know where to start. And the ancestors were like, "Don't worry, we got you.
Right.
Just sit down and do it." And
Wow.
that's what I did. So,
I love that. With the fans that you've come in contact with, are there any funny, quirky, crazy moments that you've experienced with a fan that has met you for the first time?
um, I guess I just don't have. I can't point to one. It's
Uh-huh.
I think the thing that really still kind of gets me, even to this day, is just how much people not only identify with Mitchell Rahim and the crew, but literally how they have adopted them. I mean, Mitchell and Rahim just aren't characters to them.
They're not.
They are, in fact, real people. Even if they don't know people like that, they know those people exist.
Right.
And they're so happy that those people exist.
Exist.
Um,
True.
so it's a wonderful thing to open up a book and be presented with a world that reflects your own. So it's really that dance just never gets tired for me because I
True.
know I've been there. I remember specifically like walking into bookstores and being at Newsweek and even going to. I mean, there was a particular a group in New York, Gay Men of African Descent, that I was a member of in the late '80s, early '90s, and just about every Black gay author who visited was not writing stories about
Mhm.
Black same gender loving love, Black same Black same gender loving love, and so it's like, well, what are you waiting for?
Right. Right.
If you
What
don't
are you
do it,
waiting
who's
for?
going to do it?
True. This is true. So, how do you feel that technology has changed the experience of being an author or novelist?
Well, certainly social media has given us a tool that we only dreamed of
Mm-hmm.
in the mid 90s. I remember it was truly kind of like a guerrilla making um, like publishing experience for me where okay, I'm published, but I literally have to do everything
Mm-hmm.
myself because Allison Publications had two people on staff: Sasha, the publisher, and a like a, a design, someone who designed um, the books.
Mm-hmm.
They had a part-time public relations person, but you can't do public relations part-time. so
True.
uh, so it was up to me to get out there and get the word out and make people
Mm-hmm.
aware that the novel was coming out. And then when the novel came out, hit the road to promote it. Um,
Mm.
whereas some almost 30 years later, I don't necessarily have to hit the road
You don't.
to sell a
It,
book. Um, I mean, even like what we're doing right now virtually, who would have thought we would be able to do something like that? Interviews on
yeah.
personal computers and our smartphones. So
Yes.
uh, the technology has definitely changed. Um, but there still is nothing like that face to face interaction with
True.
folks when they tell you that, well, B Boy Blue saved my life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what a blessing that is to know
Yes.
that something
And
I
can I just
created has had that type of an effect on folks. So
yes. And can I just go back for a moment? So again, the
sure.
grind that you had to be on when B-Boy Blues originated. There wasn't the easy, I won't say easy, but there wasn't the um how do I want to put it? The more oh gosh, what word I want to use? There wasn't the ease of use with technology. You had to get out, you had to go and talk with people, you had to have the book signings, you had to uh put flyers up versus sending them out, electronically. Like there was a lot
Mhm.
you had to do that was boots on the ground type of work and make that happen. And again, like you said, it was a small team that you had. So that in itself just lets me know how important this was for you, you know? And I hope it inspires others who are going through the process now. Like,
Right.
it's not like it once was, but it still does require that work. It still requires that
Indeed.
commitment and that thinking outside of the box. And honestly, seeing the bigger picture, seeing bigger than just this moment, That's amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. So, okay, you've kept a private life pretty much, and I won't get any tea out of you today. Um, um, can I ask, of the different works that you've done, which character I would say is most loosely based off of your life or experiences that you've had?
well,
And I know it's
definitely just
fictional.
in terms of the bio, Mitchell.
Mitchell?
Uh, yeah, and most people have always assumed that Mitchell is me. That yeah, I met a b boy one summer and fell in love. uh,
I always thought that, but I wanted to ask you and have you say it.
and in fact, the funny thing is that around the time that I was on tour and second time around was about to be released, the rumor was that Tyson Beckford was Raheem
Ew.
because they, of course, have a similar physical profile.
Yes.
And as it happened, uh, when he hit, it was already in the universe that Raheem was about to become a model. So most people assume, um, of course, in confidence. They wouldn't
Mhm.
say it out loud, but that's what they would say in confidence.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't particularly care so long as they bought the books. So,
As long as they bought the I love it. So is um is your Raheem still in your life, and what does love look like for James?
well, I mean, I've never really had a Raheem in my life. Um, I've dated gentlemen who would definitely fit the so-called b-boy profile,
Mhm.
um, but I don't necessarily have a type, and it's never been sort of like a fetish, let's say, because
Mhm.
for Mitchell, it definitely is a fetish.
It was
He
a fetish.
definitely
You're
has
right.
he definitely views b-boys in a specific way because of who they are, and which is why his falling in love with Raheem was kind of like, well, I mean, and that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie when Aunt Ruth breaks it down for him. It's,
Mhm.
well, okay, you didn't think it could happen, and you probably didn't think it would happen with a guy like him, but yeah, it did.
It
What you gonna
did.
do about it? So, and but oftentimes it's the one we least who we think it would least likely happen with
Mhm.
that it
Mhm.
happens with. So, because we all
Yeah.
have our,
That's
our, I guess our types, but
Mhm.
more often than not, we don't hook up with, we don't settle down with, we don't marry, we don't build a family, a life with those people who are usually our types,
Mhm.
because something else takes over, and yeah, that's love.
That's love. And when it's unconditional, it's a dangerous thing.
Mm.
How do you, James, balance um the current events, keeping it funny, but also giving it that rawness? How do you balance it all, or do you just go with the flow?
Well, I think that my background as a journalist has really helped me in that
Mhm.
regard, because in constructing these worlds, they don't exist in a vacuum. I mean, it's a fictional world, but it's very much based on what's happening in the real world, which of course
Mhm.
gives it so much more resonance for
Mhm.
people. So, yeah, I just kind of like just go with that flow. I think probably one of the a fun anecdote is that when I decided that I was gonna sit down and let this story from little brother man's perspective come out.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it was really important that the events that happened during that year somehow touch, somehow
Mhm.
um, impact the narrative. And of course,
Mhm.
Nipplegate, um, Randy Jackson, and the Super Bowl
Yeah.
is like, well, of course, he and his friends would be talking about that.
Right.
And they might even be talking about that in class. So, um, and I like that because that truly gives me the freedom to explore the issue in a way that doesn't come off didactic, that
Mhm.
doesn't come off as if the characters are preaching. No, they're just having normal conversations, which is what we all do when events
Mhm.
happen. Um, so,
Mhm.
so it's always been organic like that for me. I've never had to
Mhm.
force it. Um, I mean, writing for me is like breathing. So,
I've
um,
heard you say that before. Yes.
so in breathing, it's kind of like, well, I'm looking around and I see what's happening in the world, and yeah. Most definitely, Pookie, Little Bit, and their extended families are going to be in some way impacted by those things. So we need to see
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. What other plans would there be for Pookie, Little Bit, their story, uh, the whole story? What other um, visions or dreams have you had for them?
Mm. Well, I guess the easy answer is to see each novel adapted
Okay.
into a movie. But I'm not ruling out a limited series or a
Yes,
even a
yes,
like a regular comedy dramedy series.
yes, yes,
Um, and I really do want to see Men of the House, the latest title,
yes.
the series,
Mm-hmm.
from Little Brother Man's perspective. I mean, it just makes perfect sense that he would get his own book. Um, he's
And I
had
was
a
going to
front row
ask you
seat
what.
for Daddy and Uncle Mitch's relationship. And also like actually locating, because I see a lot of books out there from LGBTQ plus perspectives, specifically teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
but not from heterosexual teenagers who have same
Mm,
gender parents.
I
So that
love
would
that.
be really interesting to see play out,
Yes,
um, a movie or a series. So,
yes. I will admit that is something another one I'm thankful for, and I cannot wait. I hope someday there will be the movie or the series related to it because being same gender parents, there are these preconceptions and these
mhm.
stereotypes or assumptions that are made and how the kid is going to turn out, what they're going to be, what their life is like. You really gave due justice with uh little man's perspective, and again, I'm thankful. Like I don't know, I don't have words. But so of course he had to have his story. What was that moment where you said, you know what, I have to pull the trigger. I have to allow him that space to expand and for people to get to know things from his perspective?
um, it actually just started as kind of like a short story
Mm-hmm.
and was included in Can You Feel What I'm Saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't know it would actually grow into a novel
Mm-hmm.
until lots of people kept asking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically asking about Errol. Um, well, do you think that you might expand it? Because I mean, because that particular chapter anyway, where he's telling his best friends, Ro and Sid, that, well, my father is, well, for lack of a better word, bisexual, and he and my uncle Mitch are once again a couple. I mean, we don't see that kind of discussion happening amongst teenagers, but we should.
You
So,
should.
and that was the point that most of those folks made, and many of them, yeah, were parents. So, so I think that it was probably around the time when um, B Boy Blues the play was
Mm-hmm.
on its run, its tour, and it's like just one night when we were in a city, and Errol said, "Okay, now is the time," and like a few hours later, I had the first chapter of a novel written. So, and yeah, and
Amazing.
it once again, it just happens so organically. I'm just the vessel.
Yeah, you're the vessel. It's like breathing, like you said.
Hmm.
I love it. Well, James, I have to say, um, you're a cultural icon, okay? You have impacted so many people. You've given us parts of you that um, obviously move with us throughout our days. You know, there's such pivotal moments in our lives that we've had what you've given us to help us through. So again, I want to say thank you. And of course, we at Black Gay Table Talk, we support you. We will be there to root you on, celebrate you. Now that this platform is available, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we're connecting with people and keeping the stories going and keeping um, essentially your legacy, right? Your gift to us. We want to keep it thriving, you know? So anything that we can do, we're going to do it. We will show up and support.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So, you sure you don't want to give us some tea real quick?
You just want
No,
some
no,
gossip.
no. Nobody threw that jock strap at you one day. Nobody, you know.
Well, nobody threw a jock strap at me, but I have found a gentleman in my hotel room once.
Yes, there we go. Then what happened?
So yeah, I never got the Teddy Pendergrass treatment, but yeah, that was kind of a pleasant surprise.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh, wait. So, okay, I won't go into too many details with it, but everything ended well, I'm hoping, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, that's good. I don't know what that smile is saying right now, but I'm gonna accept.
But yeah, I guess I just had a flashback. So
Oh, you did. Flashbacks are
yeah.
always good. They're
Hmm. Definitely.
they can be anyway. So, um, well, any lasting words for our audience, our watchers that you'd like to give?
Um, going back to something I mentioned earlier, protect your peace
Protect your
and
peace.
always, always get your joy. I mean, life is literally too short, and um, I guess I'm at the age now where um, I I always make the decision about whether or not I'm going to do something or say something because is this really worth my time?
Right, right.
And that really does come with age. It does. So
Yes.
things that I probably would have done 30, 20, even 10 years ago, it's like, mm-mm. My energy, my grace, my spirit are precious,
Mm,
and they just can't be expended anywhere and with everyone.
mm-hmm.
So, um, and especially in the climate we're living in now, where cruelty is the name of the game.
Mm, that's
I mean,
true.
people are just cruel because. I mean, there's just no reason. They're just cruel because um, it is so important to protect your peace.
This is true. Oh, you got me about to cry, James.
Oh.
Okay. Well, again, I'm so grateful for you joining us and taking this time with us. It's appreciated.
Yeah,
We love you, and we're thankful for you, and we're looking out for more to come. So onward and upward. It doesn't stop. So
indeed. Yeah, it's just the
um,
beginning.
just the beginning.
Hmm.
So everybody watching, again, like James said, look out for the tour coming up for the 30th anniversary of B-Boy Blues. Again, happy 11th anniversary to B-Boy Blues, the play. And
And the
James,
play
just
will be
keep
coming back. So,
the play will be coming back.
indeed. Hmm.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes. So stay tuned, family. We will keep you updated on what's going on with James. And James, thank you. Thank you again.
thank you so much for the Evite and for the forum. It is so important for us to have homes in cyberspace that we can call our
True.
own. So, I mean, like I said before, we never would have thought that we'd have these types of outlets 30, even 20 years ago. So, um, and and
Mm.
we're just living, we're literally living out loud. I so wish Elin was here
I
to
do too.
experience this.
Yes.
I mean, because we talked about that a lot. I mean, what the future should hold for us as Black,
Hmm.
same gender loving people. And we are living it. I mean, I love us and
We
I'm so
are.
proud of us for doing that. So,
Yes. Amen. Aw. Well, like, wait.
getting all
Okay.
teary.
I'm trying. I'm trying to hold it in.